are moving into our second segment where we're going to be exploring the major stories that we've covered over the years. And I'm really excited about this because I feel like I have just joined and I'm not really familiar with the history of Open Your Eyes and some of the really cool things, amazing things that we've covered here. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope you're looking forward to this. Mm-hmm. And so we move into kind of like a reflection.
Yes, of the major stories for the past year. Right? So let's take a look at that.
The decision from the Honorable Kenneth Benjamin, who is the Chief Justice of Belize, is that he looked at several of the constitutional rights that are guaranteed to all persons in this country, mm-hmm. and looked at Section 53, which criminalizes homosexual sex. Because I need to also say this before we proceed. I was going to talk about the Bible just now. Let me just say this first of all, though. It is not illegal and it is not a criminal offense in Belize for a person to be gay. There's nothing illegal about that. What the criminal law does is make the sexual act a criminal offense.
That is perhaps a new interaction that we haven't seen in the previous trips before. You've been intercepted and turned back. This time, the boat kept on going. Was that a decision that was made ahead of time, or just in the moment itself you decided, you know what, we're sure we're in Belizean waters, we'll just keep going?
Actually, I wanted to stop. I wanted to, and I had asked the captain to let's stop when we saw them coming towards us, because we could see them, one of them on his phone. Mm-hmm. So we assumed that he was getting instructions or asking, you know what do I do next? And then it was clear when he put down the phone and he directed the person driving to come towards us. So then I asked the captain to stop, because I wanted to see, like I said, that's the news. Yeah. If they seize the boat, if they come on board, that's news. But then Will Mejia, who was along with us, said, you know what, let's go. Let's keep going. And that's when we took off, so to speak, and they couldn't keep up.
The BNTU had written to the Prime Minister on the 12th of August, outlining a number of demands as it relates to some national issues that we believe need to be addressed if we are to have good governance in this country. We had 8 points on the letter that we had sent to him. And in the discussion with our Council of Management on Thursday, he provided first a written response and then requested a meeting at the council, which happened on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And at that meeting, we discussed the matters at hand. We then met as a council after that on Thursday night, mm-hmm. and prepared our response to his response and presentation. That seemed to have gotten the ira of the Prime Minister got irritated about it, mm-hmm. and therefore decided to probably go on an offensive, attacking the union's leadership as it relates to our position on the demands that we had made.
So when you look at suspected cases at this point, because we are not doing actual testing, screening, and confirming through a lab test, then we go on clinical manifestations that the persons present with. Looking at the data, as I said, in regards to confirmed cases, no, even though we are saying we have 46 confirmed cases, we are still pending some results. Yeah. So the delay in results also, because they are not done in country, then that kind of, when you look at the data, then the next time it might be a big it might be a big jump, yeah. from where we are today, because then we get an entire set of new results.
Just in terms of doing the initial assessment, the hardest hit areas of Belize City were particularly the coastal areas. Mm-hmm. Like we saw the entire coastline of Belize City being affected, from Seashore Drive, Driftwood Bay. I went up there and the street itself was impassable. A lot of trees downed, causing damage to power lines and making the street itself impassable. We took extensive damage along BTL Park. Several of the boats, one in particular, the one owned by the Filipino, completely was destroyed. We had significant damage at Memorial Park, thick sludge still in the streets, so we were focusing on trying to get the tourism infrastructure operational, because we were coordinating with BTB and they're trying to ensure that they don't miss Tuesday as a cruise ship day. And then in terms of the significant impact to neighborhoods and communities, that would have been along Yarborough Road, Cesar Ridge Road, and then all the way back into areas of Jane Usher Boulevard. We also saw extensive impact along the area of Crewman Lagoon, where the Lake Independence Boulevard is. So people in that particular area were significantly affected. As you indicated earlier in the announcements, there are roughly about 75 people still in shelters in Belize City. And one of the impact there is that those people can't return to their homes because they took substantial damage.
Chiquibul is unique in many ways, but among those unique characteristics is the fact that one of the greatest threats to Chiquibul comes from people across the border in Guatemala. And the next, I think, unique characteristic is that some of the people that we're dealing with in the area are people who are armed, and so it's a high-risk area for the rangers. So our rangers, again, unfortunately, have to be armed because for their own protection. It is for self-defense. That many times they have encountered people who are armed and who are not most friendly. I mean, they are engaged in illegal activities by being in that protected area, and so our rangers have to be armed. In some instances, in some places, I mean, in the Chiquibul, I mean, our rangers cannot really just go by themselves. They have to go with the Belize Defense Force for protection.
So yes, it's a concept that there is something called corruption, by which persons, organizations enrich themselves at the expense of the rest of the society. And girl, we couldn't pick a better time than to discuss this, because we understand, and I better say it's an allegation, it's more than that, that in fact no other than the Deputy Prime Minister of our country has been fingered as being involved in a scheme in which large sums of monies have gone to individuals. Those monies are public monies.
Yeah.
That
The
public
former
money,
deputy. Yeah, the former
farmer, that's so important. Yes, Patrick, not Patrick Farmer.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's so important because that's a good example. The public is paying $400,000 for one piece of land, which it need not have paid $1.
Essentially, the partnership is one that involves national disaster preparation, regional activity in terms of responding to regional disasters, also medical responses and helping and training BDF soldiers in terms of appropriate medical responses in the field, engineering. The Louisiana National Guard has assisted and worked with, in partnership with the Belize Defense Force, in renovating schools and improving other infrastructure. And indeed, the mutual training involves jungle warfare training. So it's really a true partnership between the two countries, where expertise is shared in kind between both partners.
The teachers really helped me at school. A lot of the ones that I took independently, I received help from other teachers. So they really helped me be able to accomplish this. I didn't do it by myself.
And for you, Nadia?
Which question?
The preparations for the CAPE exams.
For my part, it was a lot of independent study in addition to what we were being prepared at SJC. When I took my exams, we actually, for the maths especially, we took privately 3 of them. Applied Math 1 and 2 and integrated math. So we had to do our own independent study and go after the teachers, asking them for help. So it was a lot of independent studying on our part.
What we can also do now, one of the things we really were keen to push with the observatory in Belize, is not only provide national crime statistics, but provide information at a much relevant level of geography. If you live in Belmopan, Belize City, Dangriga Town, national crime statistics can be interesting, but what's more interesting and relevant is what's happening in your town, what's happening in the area that you live. And through the crime data website here, what we've managed to do is we've managed to aggregate the data and package the data in such a way where it's providing up-to-date in terms of up to the end of the previous month, up-to-date information on crime data, on a whole range of different crime types.
Put a little bit of the gravy.
Butter there, right? And then so it's done. And then we have the sauce. The sauce from Grace. We need a sauce, good sauce that goes with the lamb. Right?
What kind of sauce is that?
It's a new, it's a fish and meat sauce. It is excellent, William. I put it on everything, even fish and meat sauce.
Okay.
Fish and meat sauce in one bottle.
I tried it last week, and it goes very good, right? And then I usually do croutons with this, so I have a lot of leftover bread from the burgers and such. So I butter it, and I season it, and I bake it, and then croutons. But because of time, I pre-made some of these last night. And then you put the croutons.
And I give you a nice crunch too.
Yeah.
I love croutons.
The thing is that when the Spaniards came, this is a millennial celebration that's been for among the Indian population for many centuries. When the Spaniards came, they link the celebration of the dead that already have the Indian groups with the Catholic, the Catholic celebration of the Day of the Death, that actually is today, November the 2nd, and yesterday that we remember the small children that died, Dia de los Santos Inocentes. And well, they still have the same elements that you will see in our altar here in Belize City, as well as in our altar there in Belmopan.
And one of the things I love about the video, actually the beat as well, it's a serious turn from probably an A sharp to an F.
Yeah.
How did you guys come up with that, with the beat?
Actually, Alida came up with that. She would send me the melody and the chorus, and I'm like, that's how. And when I joined the chorus, we were fighting on that at first. I'm like, how will that work? How will that work? And then then I start playing it on the guitar, and I'm like, this actually sounds good. It works. And so we stayed with it, and then we went into the studio. Paul and Dean at Studio A, they did an excellent job bringing it alive. So it's a team effort. We had a great team, great people working on it to get it.
After the demonstration process. So now I record that string section right there.
Now you just need William's vocals. Start singing after that.
No.
Were you in the choir or something? Session by Wilson Greenwich. We just saw the music video for the first time. Wilson, obviously you were right. It was all about getting muddy and having a whole lot of fun. So you have to tell me, what was your favorite moment in the music video and putting together the music video?
It was a bittersweet moment because I cried. I love my white linen hoodie.
Oh.
I love my white linen hoodie, and all I felt was this. I said, oh crap. that hoodie. And you know that mud doesn't come out.
I was just going to say, that means you have a brand new color to your hoodie
yes,
at this
yes,
point.
Yes, it looks like tie-dye now,
yeah.
You know? But that's one of my favorite moments right there, and just being out there with everyone, you know.
Here we go. Oh, I wish you would have caught that argument.
I'll tell you what, today is actually the 8th anniversary and fun day. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And man, I swear, this is actually a wonderful time with you guys.
It is fantastic. 8 years, it's worth the celebration. And let's not lose context. This is 8 years in Channel 5 celebration of 25 years. We're gearing up for that anniversary week come coming up in December. So this is really just kicking off the anniversary celebrations. And I can't believe it's been 8 years. But it has been, we've covered so much. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Perhaps the greatest challenge is the diversity of the topics that you have to cover. And the fact that you have to be prepared because it's a content-driven show. On a daily basis, you know, you switch gears. It's almost as if though you're frenetic in your thinking, but you have to be very systematic still. And that's a duality that is very hard because you have to go from something that is very somber and serious to perhaps something light and entertaining.
To getting muddy in a video.
So, you know, it's how you strike that balance and be almost like the captain for a ship as you're going through murky waters.
I think what I love the most about it is that Belize, you get to meet all these personalities that exist in this country. You always said Belize are small, but you don't know that maybe your neighbor is this awesome singer or this pioneer in sustainable development. The kind of characters that exist in our country. We have amazing people, amazing landscape. It's so good to be in this
You're
country.
right. You know, right on the pitch of having amazing people and the capability of one, especially that you don't know, then you get to find out. You know, that's one of the things that we always bring out. Having new people on set, having the changes, listening to somebody, and then learning that individual. At times you're like, oh, I never know you could that. But things like this over the past 8 years is what Channel 5 have been showcasing across the country. It's always a new topic. It's always something that is touching. You know, it's always something that is impactful to our country.
It's hard to decide which one stands out to me the most because we really have covered so much. And, you know, there's obviously certain parts of me that are more drawn to certain topics. But it has been, I think, extremely... the conversations are so relevant and they're so important in terms of the national discussions that are taking place. People are talking about these issues, and what we do is give them insight from a from different perspectives. I think one issue I know we really covered as best as we could from all angles was the Sarstoon issue, and that was really a huge issue this year. People were frustrated, people were angry, people wanted to see and know what was happening there, and we all didn't get the chance to go down to the Sarstoon, but we were able to bring it on the show. And I remember that one clip we saw with Microdon because it was a small group of persons who went in on that particular trip when things were supposed to be a-okay, and they weren't. So I think it's important that we're able to have people very early in their day understand more about an issue, learn a different perspective. But I think what I've always maintained is I have to have trust in my audience. So we provide all perspectives, but it's up to the viewers to be able to analyze and critique the information for what is their version, I should say, of the truth. Especially when it's a contentious issue, you know, you really have to have that trust in the audience. And the most important thing is being able to give them all sides.
And I think that's such a critical thing because at its very onset, that was one of the things that we aspired to do. Not necessarily to editorialize. Perhaps the best you can do is shape your questions with a particular spin, if you want to say that, and then you leave the person to respond. Very often in the conversations, I guess, because we have become such a kind of a morning talk show kind of nation, people also want you to do the interpretation and everything else for them. But I think giving people the information and from both sides sometimes is the best thing that you can do because they never get a chance to hear the facts independently and then to forge their own opinions. And that's such an empowering thing that any show should aspire to do.
In terms of a standout for me with stories would be the chit-chatting with Mayor Darrell Bradley following Hurricane Earl. Look at the devastation, especially Belize City faced following Hurricane Earl, and how a country that sometimes folks might seem divided get together and put families back on their feet so as to continue their life with prosperity and happiness.
Yeah.
You know, that's especially with how the story was because we watched some of the videos, especially with how some of the reporters went out there. You saw it firsthand. Roofs on the street. But then again, the love that this country have got for each other, because we're a small country. And you know what they say? When you're small, everybody want to talk. And they're going to talk. But at the same time, when you're small, everybody share love. And we bring, it was actually brought back to life, this country, this city at least. And we continue to prosper.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's hard to pick because the conversations that I've been here for have been very diverse and very, very, very relevant. But I really enjoy the conversations where I'm able to be subjective and objective at the very same time. Because people don't realize that we're learning as well. We're having these conversations with these people and we're trying to figure out how we fit in, what's our role, not only just as hosts on Open Your Eyes, but as Belizeans.
That's right.
So I've enjoyed the conversations about sustainable development, how the youths are finding out about how they can contribute in the media with the Big Chats conversation. So any conversation where I'm able to learn more about the guests that come, learn how I can play a role, how I can share that information outside of the camera, then I enjoy that kind of.
Excellent.
Lots of major issues though. I think it's hard to even condense for that video. You do have to know that, because there were so many issues I think that stood out this year. A lot of them have either been a point that the entire or the majority of the country rallies behind, or some have been extremely divisive. And the divisive ones are really, I appreciate the challenge of covering a divisive issue. Once we're able to get all sides, we have to admit that sometimes the other side just doesn't want to do any press, and it's hard for us. But Section 53, for example, when you do an interview with one side, people are very unhappy because they only saw that one perspective. You do the other side and the opposite is unhappy. But what is most important is that for those who perhaps have not chosen a side, or for those who have not been able to hear the perspectives of the opposing or the opposite group, they can then take that into their own reflections to be able to understand why this group is passionate about what they're passionate about and the other group is as well. And if it just validates your point that one group are being totally I don't know the right word to say, but if one group obviously is the one that you didn't really align yourself with, sometimes the interviews validates it for people, and sometimes it opens their eyes to other aspects.
And before we jump to break, I just think that's an important thing that both you and John and also Jamie raised, the diversity, and that at the end of the day what you're looking for is a conversation. To get people discussing issues that may be difficult, because in a small place like Belize, everything tends to be personal, because you are boxed in and you box people in as well. You only see them as this, whether it's sexuality or whatever
Political parties,
profession or politics. You can very easily box people into those. And the minute you start peeling away the layers through conversations, you realize that people are not necessarily different from you. They may have things that they do differently, or aspects of their life may be divergent in the way that it goes. But then you understand the humanity, or that's the objective. It's the humanity and the conversation, and to get people to engage in a non-threatening way, that I don't have to be right. I could be 90% right, or 80% right, or 50% right, or 0% right, but I'm entitled to my opinion. And that's the thing, that you value people and you're valued.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So that was our coverage of the major stories and very relevant issues that were discussed over the past year. And now we're going to get ready to look at some of the fun stuff that we did, because that was very important to this show. I think 8 years ago, when we decided to do it, it was to come on stream to be able to provide something to Belizeans that was totally different. The no phone calls, which we still get asked about, was a deliberate choice to keep conversations focused. It also allowed us to be able to structure the conversations according to the issues that are relevant at the time. So, and in addition to keeping important information out there, we also wanted to get some fun stuff. So the fun stuff is coming up after the break. We're going to have a performance by Marlyn Vansen and her history with Channel 5 and take a look at some of the fun times we've had. So stay tuned.